Alright, so I'm using this all surface construction adhesive. Says you can't use it on some plastics, but these mats are EVA, which is a vinyl mix, so it should be fine for that. So I'm just going to start laying beads down on this and laying it in the van and kind of putting some pressure on it. So I'm just getting it matched up here. You're going to want to bead on even a lot of these tips because you want to keep those seams down. This stuff is real thick though, which makes it somewhat difficult to work with, unfortunately. Fuck it, I'll cut a bigger fucking bead. Again, I'm doing texture side down. And I want to get this lined up on this back side here as best as I can on my lines. And also drawn all the way to the back because I did have it pressed up against this back wall here where the subfloor is. And it's just about applying a bit of pressure. This stuff is supposed to be almost an instant grab, which is probably why it's so thick. Which is nice actually, because of the contours, you are going to want this stuff to grab right away, or almost right away. So the video cut out, unfortunately. Lost battery, but I heated this all up with the heat gun and form fit it around here. Just kind of had to hold it in place. Had to prop a couple pieces of wood in to press down in certain areas, and I just had a big jug of oil kind of holding down this section here. But it all seemed to fit in pretty good. The adhesive's definitely the right choice. It's holding pretty well, so just got a few small pieces to finish up. This one I'm gonna have to form fit as well, so I'll kind of show you again with the heat gun how that's gonna work. So here I'm just working on getting the beginning contour just to make it a little bit easier to work with once I start putting glue on. I just want to put some pressure on. And like I said, this glue sets up pretty quick, so once you get that molded in there, it'll pretty much hold where you need it to be. If you find any spots rising up though, just make sure to hold them down for a couple minutes. As you can see, I have a clusterfuck of different pieces of scrap wood to kind of hold all the little areas in place. The problem areas, at least, that keep wanting to come up. So just piecing together a couple of scrap pieces to finish off this end. So it just took me one full pack to do this whole front area, so I'm pretty happy with that. This is all I have really left of the pack, so it was pretty efficient. I still have one full one. Save that for upcoming project or something. But now we'll move on to the carpet. Alright, so now that we got the base layout of it, I've got it pretty well lined up back here. What I want to do is I want to get it fast in place so I can make all the necessary minor detail adjustments. So this is kind of where I want to be as far as spacing. So I just want it, when I press down into it, it's going to be maybe about 1/4 of an inch off this top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw staples down along that whole line just to keep everything in place and taut while I kind of move through, make the proper adjustments, and flatten everything out. So I'm just using 1/2-inch staples because I really want to be able to make sure that it's going to stay taut and tight up against the subfloor here. And as I go along, I kind of want to make adjustments to make sure that this threshold
stays fairly even. This will have a piece that goes that transitions from here to here anyways, but I just want to make sure that that can get tucked in underneath that threshold there between the two floors. That way, if something starts getting off kilter on either side, I can kind of use each edge to push up in with the slack that I have. Right now, this looks pretty on line with where I need it to be. Go, that's one side, and I might throw a couple more in just because it's fun. Help stabilize it a bit. That way, when I'm kind of moving everything down and gluing everything down this way, I can push all of the humps out and make sure I've got a really nice flat surface. And I can work on cutting out all the little adjustments, you know. So here, for instance, I'm gonna have to cut out, but now that I have a baseline set back here, it makes it a lot easier when I'm cutting this so that there's no movement in the rug. And then as well as the other side too. So the more movement you get, the more cuts you're gonna have to make, and by the end of it you might end up with a gap or something ugly like that. So we'll move on to this other side now. I suppose I should be wearing safety glasses, or sunglasses in this instance. And all looks to be pretty well in place. Try not to get too carried away with this. It's easy to when you have something nice to work with like this. I mean, you could use something like this. I am using the 1/2 inch because I really wanted to get a deep dig in. So this was going to be the easiest way to do that, but you could obviously do it with a manual as well. Next, I'm just getting a feel for all the little adjustments I'm going to have to be making. So you're wanting to kind of press out your air gaps. I've got this one pretty well in place. You need to use some weight just to keep your place hold. Anything you have laying around will work as long as it's heavy enough. So got a couple areas to work through on both sides, and then once I get that trimmed up, I'll show you how we're going to glue everything down. Alright, so I tried a couple different kinds of adhesive, just on some test strips, just to make sure that once I put it down it'd be fine. This is the adhesive, the 3M stuff, and this is just like construction adhesive, but doesn't seem like it would work on this type of material, so wanted to make sure. And this shit comes off way too easily, and this stuff is not moving, so this is going to be the one. Okay, got it all trimmed up, all little details kind of cut out. Now what I'm going to do is apply the adhesive to both surfaces, and you got to leave it set up for a couple of minutes just till it starts getting tacky on both sides. Once I do that, I'm going to try to lay it down probably up to this point to start with. I get the feeling up in here is going to get real hairy. and up in there. And I'm going to wear gloves because if I remember correctly, you get this shit on your hand. It sucks. So I don't want to get it up close to the engine bay because that can be held down by the actual cover. And it does say you want a couple of layers on each. So I'll do this side first. I have a super fast setup time, which is nice for this application. They recommend between 1 and 3 layers. I found with that sample I did 2 and that seemed to hold pretty well, so it is starting to get tacky already. I wonder if I would even need to. Start laying this down carefully. And obviously moving from back to front, getting all the little air bubbles out. The nice thing with this stuff is it pretty much instantly sticks because you wait for it to get tacky for not only that reason, but for proper drying and proper adhesion. So it actually works out great because everything's pretty much held into place immediately as soon as you press it down in. And so far it's fitting these contours really, really nice. Gonna give this side just a second to set up. Keep getting pressure on this side here, making sure everything's down. I did decide to go a little bit farther, almost up into the wheel wells, because I can still fold those pieces back and get those shoved back up in there. I'm gonna have to work a little bit differently because of the wheel well, the way those are structured, and how I'm gonna have to bend the carpet around. So now we'll get to this other side here. Oh yeah, this is just working out really, really nice. Almost like I've done this before. And stapling the back was the right thing to do. Everything held in place so much nicer that way. Nothing's moving around. I've got a solid base for it to be stuck into, so. And there you go. I mean, I could pretty much move on to under the pedals right away. I don't think that'd be the end of the world. This stuff doesn't take very long to dry, so maybe that's what I'll do here. I know I'm running out of light, so. Alright, so you have the contour of the wheel well here that you got to work around. Also, there's this piece that I want to get the carpet underneath, which is going to be kind of tough to work with unless I can pop it on. Okay, nice. Fucker. Perfect. So that came right out. Be able to put that over the top when it's all nice and dry. Make it easier to put in. Alright. Again, do 2 layers. ready. I'm just working to get these edges in nice and tight. Alright, really had to load up on it in these corners. And I'm just gonna have to hold it, and I won't make you guys sit through that shit.